Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today I'm going to be blind reacting to the science fiction and fantasy nominees for the 2022 Goodreads Choice Awards. I look forward to this list every single year. This is only my second year reacting to the list, but every year it's always so fun to log in the morning and just see what makes the long list and then potentially vote in the long list, and then eventually in December see what actually wins out for the year. So since I do primarily read sci-fi and fantasy, I'm only going to be reacting to those two categories. So if you are interested in the other categories, I will leave the link to the full list down below in the description box. Also, I'm sure there will be many booktubers reacting to different sections of the list, whether it's literary fiction or horror or nonfiction or romance. It'll be a wide variety of content going around today. Outside of two predictions that I have in science fiction and fantasy, I really have no clue what is going to be on this list. But like I said, I do have a couple of predictions, so let's get into those. So let's start with science fiction. The two predictions I have that I'm confident we're going to see on the list is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I feel like Upgrade is one of the most popular SF books to come out this year. I did read Upgrade when it released and I really enjoyed it, so I do highly recommend that book. But yeah, I think this one is kind of a shoe-in. I think this is a really easy prediction. Nothing too surprising there, so I'm pretty confident we're going to see Upgrade. The other book that I'm really confident about is The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. That was another big SF release that came out earlier this year. Unfortunately, one that I didn't enjoy too much, but nonetheless, I still think it is going to be on the list. And then as far as books that I'm not as sure about but I feel like could show up on the list, the first is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, and this is one I'm not really sure about whether or not it's going to be actually in science fiction. This book could easily be put into the horror category as well, so I'm curious to see if it'll pop up on the SF list or not. And then the other prediction I have is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, but this is one, again, I'm also not sure which category they could slot that in. Even though I would classify it as science fiction, like literary sci-fi, I feel like it could slip into literary fiction. I don't know. So those are my four main predictions: Upgrade, Kaiju Preservation Society, Sea of Tranquility, and Dead Silence. So we'll see if any of those pop up on the list and how that goes. And then in the fantasy category, this is the one I'm less sure about. I have two confident predictions for this. The first is Babel by R.F. Kuang, which I did read when that released, and I thought Babel was fine. I didn't love it, which I think was a bit of a disappointment for me since it was my anticipated release for the year. Well, I'm pretty confident Babel is going to be on the list. Like, it's huge. R.F. Kuang is a really big author, so I think that's an easy prediction. And then the other easy prediction that I have, every single year this author puts out something, it's gonna be somewhere on the Goodreads Fantasy Choice Awards, and that is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas, which I did read earlier in the year when it came out, and I really liked House of Sky and Breath. I thought it was a fun follow-up to House of Earth and Blood, and it really opened up the world building and the lore. So those are my two confident predictions in fantasy. And then as far as other fantasy releases, I don't know. I have not been keeping up with the fantasy books this year. Book of Night by Holly Black, I think that could be on the list. Despite how much I dislike Book of Night, it's popular. Holly Black is a big name author, so that could be on the list somewhere. Like, that wouldn't be a surprise. I cannot believe I just forgot about this book. The Justice of Kings. The Justice of Kings is going to be somewhere on this list. That book is amazing. Go read The Justice of Kings. I think it is going to be on this list. It is one of my personal favorite fantasy books that I've read this year. I cannot believe I just forgot about that. So Justice of Kings, House of Sky and Breath, Babel. I have a book by Brian McClellan on my shelf that came out this year, In the Shadow of Lightning. I feel like we might see that. What else? What else? Nothing's coming to me. Like, I'm completely drawing a blank in the fantasy category. What else? So this is something that the Goodreads Choice Awards does a lot. They will have books on the list that either just came out, or I feel like in some cases, like in previous years, they've had books on the list that were not even released yet. So if that's the case, I think we could see, I mean, this is out, but it just came out, and I think we could see The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin on the list. So it had a week to get in there. It just came out last week. So nothing else is coming to me at the moment. So those are my predictions, my confident predictions, my maybes, and yeah, I just cannot wait to see what actually made the list. So I'm gonna get into the video, put the screen record on, and we're gonna check out the list together and see what's on here. So let's get into it. Okay, so let me go ahead and pop this screen recorder on. And here we are. Best books of 2022. Oh, I love doing this. every year. This is, like I said, this is my second year of reacting to it on camera, but just getting to this moment every single year is just always so much fun. I'm happy that we get to do this together. Opening round ends in 12 days. Wow, almost 500,000 votes have been cast already. People are excited. Okay, so on the left hand side it says the voting schedule. The opening round is 15 through 27 of November. Final round is November 29th through the 4th. And then the winners will be announced on December 8th. And then I can also see up here that 2 nominees are on my shelves. So we have Leech in Best Science Fiction. So that's really cool. This is getting me wondering whether or not Dead Silence is really going to be on here, because I was thinking, you know, that could be in the horror category. But now that I see Leech in Science Fiction, I thought Leech was a horror novel, but they put it in SF. I don't know. So I like how things are blending different genres and can be put in different categories. So I guess we will have to see whether or not Dead Silence makes this list. And then also I can see in young adult fiction, The Weight of Blood by Tiffany Jackson was nominated. So that's really exciting too. I probably won't click into the YA fiction just because I think that might be the only book that I have on my YA fiction list. But let's go ahead and get started with sci-fi and see what's going on in here. So let's get to it. Oh wow, okay, oh my gosh, front row, we already have Upgrade. I feel like that happened last year when I predicted, well, not that I like made this happen, but I was predicting that what is it, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir would be on the list, and I think that popped up first if I remember correctly. Okay, this is off to a good start. We got Upgrade by Blake Crouch, and then we have, oh, Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. I read that. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but some people liked it. So Ocean's Echo made the list, which is really cool to see. I did read Winter's Orbit earlier this year. I don't think I've mentioned that in a wrap up, but I did read Winter's Orbit and I really enjoyed that. And this is not actually a sequel, Ocean's Echo. It's more like a story that's set in the same universe as Winter's Orbit. So I do want to get to Ocean's Echo, but probably won't happen until sometime next year. But I do want to read more in that world. Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, front row. Nice. That was a good prediction. I wasn't really sure where that was going to be, whether it was going to be in horror or not, but that's nice to see it in sci-fi. Dead Silence, you guys, if you haven't read it, that is so much fun. I just thought that was one of the most entertaining books that I read this year. I just had such a good time. It was just so atmospheric and spooky. And yeah, I recommend it. I really like Dead Silence. So nice to see that on the list. And then now we're getting into some things I have never heard of before. Atomic Anna by, I can't even see that, Rachel Barenbaum. I am embarrassed to say I haven't heard of that. We're gonna look into that in a second. Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. No surprise there. I don't know if this is the final book in the Locked Tomb series or if there's gonna be a 4th one, but yeah, that's not a surprise. I also wasn't sure. It's not that I forgot about Nona the Ninth, but I was kind of debating like whether or not Gideon the Ninth and that whole series, like if it was sci-fi or more fantasy or just a really strong blend of both. No idea, but it's nice to see that Nona made the best sci-fi list. No surprise here either. Leviathan Falls by James S.A. Corey, but why do I feel like that? Okay, it says published in 2021. I was like, why do I feel like that did not come out this year? I'm still making my way through The Expanse. It's been a very, very slow journey. So one day I'll get to Leviathan Falls. Hopefully it doesn't take like 5 years, but yeah, big sci-fi release. I wonder what the cutoff is. And here we have another book that I've never heard of. We have Sleepwalk. I'm gonna look into that after we look at this. Oh, okay. Now, oh, How High We Go in the Dark made the list. I forgot about that one. I remember this was going around earlier in the year and actually has some really strong reviews. So I do have, yeah, it's on my want to read list. I've had this on my TBR like since the beginning of the year. So I do want to get to that. Oh, that's really exciting to see that on the list. The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. Oh, wow. Okay, by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I am ashamed to admit I did not know what genre this was. Sci-fi didn't stick out to me when I was seeing this book go around. Next, we have Station Eternity by Murray Lafferty. So this is one that I recently bought. I just bought this and The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal. The Spare Man might be on here if Station Eternity is on here, but this is one of the more recent additions to my TBR, and I think I want to get to this before the voting closes. So if it does make it past this first round, maybe I'll vote for it in the next round. I don't know. I really enjoyed Six Weeks. So Station Eternity, I do have high hopes for, and I do plan to get to that pretty soon. Yeah, it's already on my owned unread shelf. Oh, I'm going too fast. Okay. Next, we have Hunt the Stars by Jessie Mihalik. I read that earlier this year. Wasn't the biggest fan of that either. I don't have more to say about Hunt the Stars. I'll leave a link to my thoughts on that book. All right, I'm scrolling down some more, and yeah, some of these books that are sticking out to me are books I am not too familiar with. This whole row, except for Leech. Oh, that's weird. Look what just happened to the daughter. Oh, what's going on? That's really weird. Okay, well, this blurred out book is The Genesis of Misery, and I am not familiar with that. I will look into that and add that to my TBR. And then we have Leech, which this is the book that I was like, oh, I think that's a horror novel, but nice to see it in sci-fi. And then here we have a book that I am also not familiar with. It's called The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. Oh, it has some pretty positive reviews. Okay, I'm gonna look into that too. My little tab at the top is getting pretty cluttered. And then I've heard of A.G. Riddle, but have not read anything by this author. And next is Lost in Time, so nothing really to add to that list. Okay, here we go. Kaiju Preservation Society on the list. Sea of Tranquility is on the list. Wow. Again, this was another one I just did not know where they would put this book. I think it easily could have fit in literary fiction too. But to see all these, it sounds like there's some other like literary sci-fi on here, the ones kind of closer to the top. So I mean, Sea of Tranquility makes sense. I think that's a really good choice. Kaiju Preservation Society, like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But John Scalzi is a pretty popular author, so not a surprise to see Kaiju on the list. And then we have Primitives by Eric Krauss, which I have not read. And then also Self-Portrait with Nothing, which I have not heard of. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good list, I think. I can't off the top of my head think of anything that might be missing from the list. It's nice to see that my predictions actually made the list. How High We Go in the Dark, that should have been on my predictions list. I did space on that one. I do remember a lot of my booktube buddies reading that earlier this year, and they really enjoyed it. So not a surprise to see that at all. Yeah, this makes sense. Nona, Expanse, Ocean's Echo, Mickey 7, yeah. Upgrade. I think I'm gonna vote for Upgrade, you guys. Say this list had come out like several months ago, I would vote for Upgrade, no questions asked. But now that all these months have passed since I read Dead Silence and the book has sat with me for a long time, you guys, I really like Dead Silence. I don't know what it is with that book that I'm just so in love with. I don't know. It was just so atmospheric and fun and creepy, and I just really enjoyed it. But you know what? I gotta vote for my boy, Blake Crouch. I feel pretty confident with that. I'm gonna vote for Upgrade. And let's see. Oh, after you vote, it shows you like what you've read and what you want to read. And then as far as want to read, I don't know why I don't have, this is Dr. Moreau, right? That is so weird that it glitched like that. I'm going to put Dr. Moreau on my list. And honestly, I think that's it. I'm going to look more into The Measure and Sleepwalk and Genesis and everything. But yeah, I mean, the things that are already on my want to read list are, you know, they're going to stay there. I don't think at this moment, I don't think I really want to add anything else from this list to the TBR. Like, I'm going to look into some of the ones that I have open at the top, but for the most part, everything that I want to read is already on my want to read list. So cool. Well, that was best science fiction. That was really exciting. Really no surprises though. I feel like everything that made this list makes sense. Upgrade, I think that was an easy vote. Although it was looking a little close there for a minute with Dead Silence, but I really liked Upgrade this year. Highly recommend that. Now let's slide over into the best fantasy of the year and see what's going on over here. Okay, so immediately, yeah. A lot of the books on this fantasy list, I can tell these are books I have not read. And some of them I don't even really have like on my TBR. Like I don't really have a desire to read Electra. I've heard of it. For the book eaters, I did receive an e-arc of this book, and it's just kind of taken me a long time to get around to the e-arc. But now that so much time has passed, I'm not really sure that I am very enthusiastic about getting to it. But I still do want to read it. I'm going to get to it. And then this Golden Enclaves, this has to be in the, yeah, this Naomi Novik series that started with A Deadly Education. Stardust Thief, not a surprise. I've heard some mixed things about that one actually, but this is actually this is like right above me somewhere on my shelf, so I do want to read that. Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Yeah, again, see, I thought if Nettle and Bone made the list, I was thinking maybe it would have been in horror. So to see it in fantasy is kind of nice, I guess. But yeah, Nettle and Bone made the list. I did read Nettle and Bone. I haven't, this is going to be in my next recent reads video. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. I liked the first half much better than the second half. So overall, it was just kind of a, you know, kind of meh read for me. And then we have here the War, what does that say? The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This series I feel like is so long. Oh, it's only book 4. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna be reading from Blood and Ash. And then Thistlefoot. This is one I'm not familiar with. I haven't heard of that. Sounds interesting. Tradition of modern fairy tales like American gods and spinning silver. Ooh. Debut novel about ancestral hauntings that stalk us. That sounds interesting. Okay, I'll add that to the list. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Shocker. I know. Oh, I was right about The World We Make. Okay. And this is already on my TBR, so I am going to get to that. Will it be before 2022 is over? Probably not, but yes, this is definitely high up on the TBR. And then, yeah, I've heard of A River Enchanted. I have been seeing that go around. I haven't had too much interest in reading A River Enchanted, but I'm glad so many people seem to love it. Even obviously, absolutely no surprise at all right here, we have House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Whenever Sarah J. Maas comes out with anything, it's like, the minute it's published, it's like, okay, add it to the nominees for the Goodreads Choice Awards. It happens every single year. She makes the list every year. So that's not unexpected. And then next is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. And this is the like traditional published release for this book. Yeah, I mean, as we go down this list, I had a feeling I wasn't gonna have read too much from the fantasy list. But I am really surprised with science fiction. I do have a couple of those nominees under my belt, which is really nice. Okay, now moving down again, we have another prediction here. Babel by R.F. Kuang. I had a pretty good feeling that that was going to be on the list. So yeah, no surprise. This came out a couple of months ago. And you know, this is getting some mixed reactions too. I feel like some people really love this. And then there are some people who really have been going in. I'm kind of very lukewarm about this. I just expected to love Babel and came out of it not loving it at all and just really kind of exhausted by it after a certain point. But I did like the themes that R.F. Kuang was exploring in the book. But just as a reading experience, I thought it wasn't the greatest. Yeah, on the list, not a surprise. The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. Is this even out yet? When does this come out? Hold on, we're gonna have to take a detour. Published November. Oh, it came out today. It came out. See, what did I tell you? Goodreads does this every single year. They always include a book on the list that just came out the day of, or I feel like in the past, I don't know what year this was, but I remember a year when they included a book that was not even out yet, and there was just so much uproar about that. Back to this. And then we have the next book here is Keikaii. This is another one that I saw so many people chatting about earlier this year, but this is one that just never really pulled my interest. So this is not on my TBR. And then here's one I've never heard of before. This is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. That sounds interesting. A warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch. Quirky new family, new love. Cool. Okay. Why is it doing that? That is so odd. Okay, now we're going to scroll down. Oh, Ordinary Monsters is on the list. Oh, this is one that is on my priority TBR for the end of the year. That was not on my predictions list, and it should have been. Oh my gosh. Okay, I do want to read that. And then we have another fantasy book that I'm not familiar with here. This is When Women Were Dragons. by Kelly Barnhill. Okay. I'll come back to that. Sounds interesting. Guys, look at that. Is so, these little glitches. What is going on, Goodreads? Legends and Lattes is on here. Not a surprise there. That's nice to see. I know so many people who have read Legends and Lattes and have been raving about it. They love it. It's the coziest low stakes book. All the hype surrounding it. I can see why it made the list. And then finally we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lin Tan, which I've also seen going around. I think I have this on my TBR, but I forgot. Okay, I think that's a solid list. Yeah, Ordinary Monsters, nice. Babel, House of Sky and Breath makes sense. The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin, I'm glad to see that. That's really cool. And yeah, the rest of them, I think The Justice of Kings is not on this list. I just noticed that. What happened to the Justice of Kings? Hold on. How did the Justice of Kings get left off this great list? Oh, that's disheartening. Okay, well, it's the best fantasy in my heart. You know what? As I look through this list again, there's really nothing that is sticking out to me to vote for. I feel like I have not read enough from this list. Maybe I'll try to squeeze, I think I want to try to squeeze in Ordinary Monsters before the official voting ends, but I think I'm going to bypass on voting in the best fantasy because I just haven't read much from this list. I'm Nettle and Bone, didn't enjoy it. I haven't read Fairy Tale yet by Stephen King. I still haven't read The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. Yeah, there's some stuff I want to get to. Sarah J. Maas, House of Sky and Breath, that doesn't really need my vote at this moment, so I think I can wait on that. So I'm gonna hold off on voting on best fantasy just because I've literally read like 3 books on this entire list. But again, nice to see what actually came out of this list. And then finally, I'm gonna go down to young adult fantasy and science fiction just to see if anything here catches my eye, if by some chance I've read anything from this list. Or I'm interested in anything from the list. So let's get into this. I'm not gonna go through every single book on here. I'm just gonna mention the ones that actually stick out to me. It's ones that I recognize. So the first one here is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. And I do want to read, I think I actually have Once Upon a Broken Heart on my want to read list. I still can't figure out if this new series is set in the same maybe universe as the Caraval series, but I really enjoyed the first book in the Caraval trilogy. I actually think the Caraval book could have been a standalone, but that's just me. But I do want to read the first book in this new series right here. And then scrolling down here, we have Gallant by V.E. Schwab. That makes sense. Let's see, I'm going to keep scrolling. I recognize what is that? Kingdom of the Feared. I recognize that as one of the I didn't mean to click on that. I did not mean to do that. I recognize that as one of the Kingdom of the Wicked books. Oh, now the list is scrambled. Okay. I'm going to keep scrolling. Oh, Cytonic is on here by Brandon. Wait, Cytonic didn't come out in 2022. I'm pretty sure Cytonic came out last year. Cause I think. Oh, okay. Oh, it came out late last year. Okay, well, that makes sense that they're including it this year then. Okay. Cytonic. I'm still making my way through the Skyward trilogy. I'm enjoying it. I like Skyward. It's fun. Oh, Bloodmarked is on here. That's nice to see. This is the second book in the Legendborn trilogy. Bloodmarked came out on the same day as The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. So yeah, I am going to be getting to this. I've been waiting on Bloodmarked a long time, it feels like. So yeah, I love Legendborn. I thought that was a great just fantasy book, debut novel. That was, yeah, I really enjoyed that. So to see Bloodmarked on here is really, really nice. And that's about it. So that is the best science fiction and fantasy for 2022. There are a couple of books that I do want to get to before the year is out. Some that are on the sci-fi list, some that aren't. I for sure want to read Station Eternity before the year is over. That's actually on my nightstand and a part of my like end of year priority TBR. So I do want to get to that. And then another one that kind of came out around the same time as Station Eternity was The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal. As far as the other ones that are on the sci-fi list that I haven't read, I actually think I did a pretty good job this year with the nominees. As far as the other ones go though, I do want to read How High We Go in the Dark. that has been on my TBR for a while, but I don't think it's gonna be read before the end of the year, but that is one that I do want to get to. And then the other ones, my interest is not really there to read those, so I think I'm just gonna leave those alone. But overall, I feel really good about the list and putting in my vote for upgrade. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments what your surprises were on the list, what you were predicting, and if it made it. Let me know if you've read anything from these lists and what you plan to read before the year is out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.